You know what? That's great situation for put the players in. Okay, big part of what we got to do next Saturday is be able to handle the elements of the noise, elements of a real life game situation, stuff like that. So we put them in, attempt to put them in the worst possible situation we can in practice. Obviously, they can't have the cowbells standing right next to the quarterback in the game, but it's going to, try and simulate that noise, simulate how the crowd's going to be down there so we can work on handling the elements so that when we step on the field next Saturday, we're ready to go.
From your experience, there's probably been some noise pumped in practice before. What does that do for the guys? Do they kind of just, as coaches or guys, what does that do for them to kind of help prepare them a little bit?
Forces of communication to be perfect. Okay, there's basically not a lot of talking going on in communication. We're doing all of our hand signals back and forth from the quarterback to the receivers. Forces the quarterbacks to be loud when they make their calls and when we make our audibles, our adjustments. Forces the line calls to be loud when they're talking to each other. And again, like I said, go back to forces the receivers and quarterbacks to be able to communicate with the hand signals as opposed to verbally. So again, we try and simulate the situation that we're going to be in that following game or this first game that we're going to play times 10. So make it a thousand times worse, which is why we got cowbell standing next to basically every individual player and make a noise and see if we can get their minds not thinking while battling the elements.
Have you been in that situation before at all?
Oh, plenty of times, yeah. Plenty of times with crowd noise. Well, not cowbells. Never heard the cowbells. I'll be new, but there's noise. There's noise. A lot of stadiums that you play, and it gets very loud. Obviously, especially in situational football, which is what we were practicing today. Third down situations, 2-minute situations, end of the game situations, coming out goal line when you're closer to the fans and that type of stuff. You know what I mean? So that's when we really pump the noise up and get the cowbells ringing, all that type of stuff. But noise is noise, and you got to be able to find a way to block it out and still focus in on and execute, which is what we're trying to get them to do in practice.
How do you think they handled that today?
And today was a good day with it, man. To an extent, it gets to the point where again, you don't hear it, you don't feel it, you don't know what's going on because it's just natural for you. So I think that's great that we started a couple of days ago, and we will continue doing it, right up to the game, so that come game day, the elements aren't a factor, and we can just focus on what the defense is doing and offense is doing for the other side of the ball, all that stuff, and execute at a high level, just playing football.
I know earlier you talked about when you were talking about your quarterbacks, you wanted them to kind of be lasered in. I think the quote was, kind of looking bored. How do you feel like Seth has handled that, just knowing his reads and the way that you talked about?
Yeah, I think Seth has had a really good camp. I think he's matured and as a leader, he's a naturally focused human being. He's at practice. He's normally dialed in, in the right spot, doing the right thing. It's hard to rattle him, which is obviously a very good trait for a quarterback to have. So I think he's doing a good job. I think he's taken steps in the developmental process of learning to make a mistake and be okay with it playing next snap, as opposed to having that mistake turn into a couple mistakes down the line, which is what, again, I hate the term young quarterback because that's just an excuse to make mistakes. But last year he was a young quarterback. Right now he's not a young quarterback. So when that mistake happens, because it's going to happen, I don't care who you are, can you play the next drive and go back to your reads and make your plays off of execution?
With the Mississippi State defense, I know Ryan told you to start the game prep a little bit. What are you seeing early on that's kind of making you guys, focus in a little bit more on what they can do?
They're a unique defensive scheme wise in what they do. They do a lot of things. They bring it from a lot of different angles. Obviously, they have great players across the board. They got big D linemen who are twitchy. They got linebackers who can play in the box and sideline to sideline, and they got big long DBs. They're an SEC school, so they're a very good defense. Number one, personnel and DNA wise, and I think they have a really good scheme where they can show you a lot of the same looks and get into a lot of different things. So we got to be really dialed into our game plan. Take what the defense gives us. Like I always say, throw it when they think we're gonna run it, and run it when they think we're gonna throw it. And play ball that way.
Still feel mentioned freshman Sutton Smith with the fact that he has a unique skill set. Looking at what he does well, how does that, having a player like that kind of benefit what you're trying to do as well?
Yeah, you like to be able to give the ball to a kid and let him kind of just take over, make a couple guys miss, and all of a sudden, hey, that was a great call, when really it wasn't a great call against a loaded box or something like that. He's electric with the ball in his hands. He's got to continue to mature. Coach Dawkins done a great job of getting him accustomed to the playbook. He's done a great job with his football IQ, football knowledge, and his free time prior to classes, starting to studying the playbook and getting to learn the offense. And like I said, once you learn the offense, then your natural ability just kind of takes over, and that's what we've seen from Sutton from day one to where we're at right now. So he's a guy that we feel we can put in the game, and good things will happen when he has the ball in his hands.
Speaking on the running backs, Ryan told us that Brandon's kind of leading into maybe being an emerging favorite for that role. What have you just seen from him? Obviously, it's your first year with him, but what have you seen his growth like from the start of practice to now?
It's unique for me because this is my first year. What I've seen from Brandon from day one that I've met him is a guy who this fall camp has come out to practice every single day with clear eyes, with a clear mind, and is having fun playing football. And when he steps on the field, he's dialed into football. And that's what I've seen from him. And when he's doing that, he's a really, really good football player. When he starts letting other things affect him or something that's happened, same thing I kind of said about something that happened 5 plays ago is now affecting him, you can see him start to slow down. But right now he's having a lot of fun playing football. He's clear-eyed, he's clear-minded, and he's a special talent when he's in that mindset, someone that we got to get the ball to and someone that can handle a bunch of touches a game. You start talking running back play, can they handle 20, 25 touches in the game? He can do that, so if he continues at the course he's at over the next however many days it is, we're going to be in a good situation with him.
And then with the receivers, I know obviously Ryan also mentioned Eddie Lewis coming in, but how do you see those receivers kind of like grading out and getting more comfortable with what you want to see out of them at this point?
I think the receivers had a really good camp across the board as a room. Got some young guys that stepped up and started to play. And it's like I said from the get-go, when you are on a team last year that has a Calvin Johnson, a guy you're trying to get the ball to a whole bunch, has a Sean Dykes, and 50+, if not 60+% of the throw game goes through those guys, it's now this receiver's room's turn to step up, and we've seen that. Eddie Lewis has had himself a tremendous camp. Markel's had a really good camp. Gabe's had a really good camp. Kobe Drake's come in, had a really good camp. Javon's done good things. Rock's shown stride. There's going to be 6, 7 guys that we feel confident with to put in the game and keep fresh legs, which is another part of our plan. If we can play 6, 7 receivers and 3, 4 tight ends and a couple running backs and roll those guys through, then we're going to be fresh in the fourth quarter, and they got to make a decision if they want to play with their ones a little fatigued, if they want to put their 2s in the game. We feel pretty confident having some depth specifically in that receiver room of guys who can play good football for us.
The receiver by committee is going really well. That we keep feeling confident with that many guys right now.
I think you're best when it is receiver by committee. Trust me, if Randy Moss was available, we'd love to have him type of guy. You know what I mean? But when you can have a defense have to force to prepare for 8, 9 targets to the X receiver, 8, 9 targets to the A receiver, 8, 9 targets to the Z receiver, 8, 9 targets to the Y receiver, 35+ targets to the running back. Quarterback gets a couple targets per game. There's your 75 plays a game, and you're even. You're distributed across the defense. Across the offense. Forces the defense to play their base defense. They can't zone in, and you're in better shape.
Anything else? Jay Ducker, we haven't asked much about him. So you just now that you've seen him be healthy, how is he fitting in a little bit as far as what you're seeing out of his growth?
Yeah, Jay Duck's a really good running back. He's not a flashy guy. He's not an electric guy, but somehow, some way, when he has the ball, where positive things are happening. He's got a really good feel for the run game, and this fall camp we started to see what we saw on film coming in from Northern Illinois. You got a guy who runs for 1,000 yards at Division I level. He's got something to him. And, banged up a little bit in the springtime, so we didn't get a true evaluation of him healthy this entire fall, He has shown us what we've seen on film. And like I said, it's not dynamic, it's not flashy, but somehow, some way, we're getting positive yards with him at the running back position. All right, guys, appreciate y'all.